It is to date the weirdest thing I've ever done. I've done a lot of weird things in my life. Gavin knows most of them, and it was the strangest experience of my life, because those of you who haven't shopped for biological material, it's a Hinge date from hell. You are swiping these profiles, and what happens is you just go, what am I looking for? Because there's the obvious ones I think everyone knows, right? Race, body type, age. Like there's these things that you kind of like already have an idea of what you want. But then you start getting into the weeds, because you're like, well, she only has a BFA. She doesn't have a master's. I'm like, what?
You pay extra for those in sperm.
You sure
I don't
do.
know about you.
Oh, you sure do.
And every agency is different, right? Some agencies will give you pictures of them as kids or as adults, or we got like a 5-page medical history plus like a little bit of a Q&A, like what are your hobbies, all that stuff. And we were having one of those days where we were going through these things, and we were both so stressed out. We were at each other's throats, and it just was like, we finally just said, let's decide what's important. So like any sort of medical things or race or body type. First of all, you'll find out you've got a lot of demons in your closet when you start looking at people and you're like, I don't like her. And you're like, why?
Yeah.
Why don't you like her? And you go, because I realized I'm being biased against her weight or her height or her skin tone.
Right.
You just, it forces you to make those decisions. But what we realized was we chose the important parameters for us. And then we just chose the woman we chose. My husband says, I just looked at her face and I went, she just has a kind face. And I wanted to choose her. And that was really important to us, because we were so desperate for that decision to be over. And what's hilarious, like going back with the names and everything, for me, and I don't know if you guys feel this way, I now think of our egg donor and who she is and their influence on my child never once. Because my kids are my kids. So and anything good they do is because of me, and anything bad they do is because of my husband. So like I never say like, oh, obviously. Well, your egg donor listened to country music, so that's why you're a MAGA or whatever, you know? So So anyway, that was my personal experience with that.
Yeah. I joked for months and weeks and months and almost a year probably about how we were flipping through a J. Crew catalog of tall, beautiful women with Ivy League educations. And it happened to be that, again, our agency, whose name I cannot remember, was located in Pasadena. And so it tended to be very California looking women. And that meant like really blonde and really white. And that was interesting. There was very little diversity. And it took a while to we just had to follow our gut. Just like David said, like the kind face means a lot for sure. Or just like the kind vibe you're getting through a picture. David, did you have videos that you were able to watch?
No, ours were just pictures of them as adults.
We were able to watch videos of them. And often it would say like hopes and dreams, the word hopes and dreams. And whenever somebody would come on and say, my hopes and dreams is, we'd be like, delete, next. They can't conjugate. They don't know how to speak. Their grammar is obviously inherent. So next. I mean, it's kind of like an SAT score. You have to, move on for some reason.
Down. Yeah.
So we ended up finding just somebody who it was just the right vibe.
Yeah.
And also, we did kind of try to look for somebody who vaguely resembled my partner so that there was some kind of combination of us. And so, for instance, I used to be blonde when I was a kid, living in Colorado sunshine. I was super toe-headed as a kid. And so we were going for somebody with much darker hair, like my partner. And then we ended up having this woman who did, ironically, this wasn't the deciding factor. She did go to Columbia, but she was a tennis player. I don't know. There was just something about her that was like, this just seems right.
Yeah, there's a feeling.
There was also something I forgot to say that Gabe reminded me of. We were looking for women who were, and it sounds horrible because we're talking about biological material and we're talking about people, humans who are doing this. So you talk about them in a way that feels very demeaning in a weird way. But anyway, we were looking for somebody who was average and average looking as far as like the looks, like not defined, like very like forgettable.
Because you want your genetics to shine through, right?
That is exactly right. My arrogance was like, I want me to shine through. So we tried to choose a woman who just looked like a cute girl that is super forgettable. So like first of all, we're not gorgeous. I don't know why we thought our DNA was so special that it needed to pop through. But that was one of the things. We were looking for somebody who would kind of fade to the background. And now when I look at pictures of her, I can see our kids' noses and mouth
Oh,
so
yeah.
clear as day. But I
Yeah.
don't think about her anymore. I hope she's well. I hope she's doing great. But like, I don't think about her ever because we never met her. There was no, what is it called? Where you have no connection.
Closed.
Yeah.
Closed.
We don't know
So
her
you
name.
you didn't
They
get
wouldn't tell
open
us.
ID egg donors.
No, but I think you can still like via like, Ancestry or whatever. Eventually they can find those.
So not even
Totally.
when they turn 18, there's not an option to reach out.
Not
for me either.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't think they were really still doing that.
No.
I thought that everything was moving towards open ID. First, because you can find it all out anyway, but also because it's just better for what they say, it's better for the kids in the long run to
Seems
be
like it.
able to have an open door. But interesting, very interesting. And I do think about the donor. I do. I still do sometimes. Like my daughter is 9 now, and I see him in her. So as she grows, I'm seeing him more, and it's like jarring. It's interesting.
Did you have him on camera or video to see any mannerisms or the way he talks or anything?
We don't get that. So we had just had baby pictures. Actually, I've seen an adult picture of him since then. It's a very long story.
That sounds juicy.
One of the other parents with the same donor knows him, sent me a picture, hangs out with him, like whole thing.
Wow.
So I know a lot more than I thought I would. So
that's my biggest fear is if we ever, because I'm like, I kind of want to run into her, just kind of get a vibe. But part of me is so afraid that I would run into her and like see that she was at like the Capitol on January 6th. Like, I'm so afraid that will taint my like image of her.
Oh my God.
Because like right now, she's just this like cute nurse from Portland, Oregon who liked country music and dogs. I'm like, I just want that to be her because I'm so afraid she's going to disappoint me.
You have a really interesting picture of her in your head,
I have
but
a vivid
it's
imagination.
very Gidget, I feel like.
Very Gidget. But I doubt the Gidget who is donating eggs to an agency that's going to help you out, David, is really going to be storming the Capitol. I mean, I
can't imagine.
No.
I can't imagine.
Crossed.
I can't imagine. I like to believe that my donor is like the best person in the world because I have to.
Yeah.
Magic of believing.
Yeah. But I did just interview Dr. Mark, who actually is one of the founders of Men Having Babies.
Yeah.
He and Lisa, the therapist, another previous guest of mine who they come back on every once in a while. And they're like my expert people because we're so technical on this podcast. We know all the scientific. Yeah. So they're my expert people, but I just interviewed them about the donor search, and their book is all about like donor conceived people and our families. And they said what you should. I had so much like anxiety during this interview because they were like, what you really should focus on first and foremost is medical background and like all this stuff. Everything that I did not do, they said we should do. I was like, I went straight for heart. Yeah, like it's very funny. I think in the end, a lot of us really go with our gut because you have to. It's such a big, huge leap of faith.
And we have to say out loud, it's weird. We have to say, we can't hide behind like, no, it's this beautiful It is weird shopping for biological material. And if you just say that out loud, it just takes a little bit of the pressure off.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so beautiful though.
Queer